Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2025, and today I want to talk to you all on the topic of chronic givers. What exactly is a chronic giver? In a nutshell, it's a person that gives too much. They give until it hurts. They will give you the shirt off their back. They will give you the shoes off their feet. They will give you the heart out their chest. They will give you every breath in their body. They struggle with setting boundaries. They struggle with saying no. They constantly do and do and do, and oftentimes derive a sense of pride and a sense of self esteem for how much they do for other people. They oftentimes also struggle to let people love them. People who are chronic givers don't allow people to love them because they're so used to loving and giving other people. And oftentimes what happens is that they reach a point in their life where they burn out. They start to re-examine their choices, and this is when the healing process begins, but they start to re-examine their choices and they start to think about all the ways in which they have set themselves on fire to keep everybody else warm. Because that's one of the hallmarks of being a chronic giver. You give until it hurts. You sacrifice so much of yourself for other people. And you would take the food out of your own mouth and feed the world while you starve. And so I asked myself, how does a person get to that place? How did they get there? People are not born being chronic givers. How did they get there? They must have learned this from somebody. One, if you were raised in a household by a narcissistic parent, or if you were raised by an emotionally immature parent, or if you were raised by a parent with chronic illness or disabilities, or a parent who had substance abuse issues, you learn early how to sacrifice your needs for the sake of theirs. You've learned early how to people please. You've learned early how to caretake your parents as opposed to being taken care of by them. You've learned how to surrender your own wants, needs, and desires in order to satisfy another person's. You were conditioned and you were groomed to always put everyone else ahead of you. Their needs had to always come first, especially with narcissistic parents and also emotionally immature parents. They struggled with a sense of egocentricity that required you to always put their needs first in order for your needs to be met. You had to oftentimes, especially this is true with those parents who have substance abuse issues, you always had to take care of them. Carry your drunk parent home from the bar. Put them to bed. Keep the garbage can by the bed in case they vomited. When they wake up, make sure that they stay hydrated with water. Make sure that they have something on their stomach. Make sure that food was prepared. Made sure that you provide reassurance constantly and supportive counseling to them. Oftentimes those who are chronic givers, they end up in the helping professions. They end up as nurses, doctors, social workers, CNAs, anything that plays a supportive role to another person. They end up caretakers, health aides, community workers, because they're so used to taking care of everyone else ahead of themselves. And growing up, they got the message that this was admirable, this was noble. They oftentimes received validation when they were taking care of others ahead of themselves. Pretty much their parents benefited from this brokenness within them, and they learned early that they were not loved for who they were, but rather for what they do in the service of another. So they've learned also that if I want love, I have to always make sure that I suppress my needs and prioritize another's. And so they enter into relationships, they enter into various professions with this mentality, with this ideology, with this conditioning. And for a while, it serves them. They get awards, they get praise, they get recognition. But when they go home, that's when it begins to hurt. That's when they start to realize that, wait a minute, I have no one supporting me. Here I am supporting the world. Yet when I come home, who is supporting me? And that's when a shift happens. That's when these individuals begin to pivot. Because the thing about chronic giving is that you will burn out. That's a guarantee. You will burn out. And oftentimes those who have chronic conditions like chronic illness are chronic givers. You know, because it's their body telling them that, wait a minute, you're not taking care of me. You're putting everybody else ahead of me. I'm not getting the care that I need to sustain you. You know? So this is why, as a recovering chronic giver, I have made it my aim to, for one, set boundaries. Because in the past, I used to be like, okay. I said okay to everything. I said yes to everything. Now, I'm saying no. You have to erect those firm boundaries. You have to, because if you continue to pour into others and say, okay, you find yourself being bitter, resentful, angry, frustrated, a lot of negative emotions. And that's because you didn't do anything to protect yourself. You didn't do anything to keep your cup full. You know, oftentimes growing up, I would be called selfish anytime that I looked out for myself and did things to replenish myself. But the truth was, I was not selfish. I was self-full. I was keeping myself full so that way I can be there for other people. But we didn't have this information when I was growing up. We were just accused of being selfish anytime we did not want to give ourselves away. Anytime you just set a limit, that was always punished with shame, with guilt. You were somehow a bad person when you didn't want to continue to give all you had to something or someone. You were perceived as a bad person. That wasn't true. See, I realize now that I was not a bad person. I was actually a person that was self-full. I was a person that was trying to prioritize my needs so that way I can be present for other people. Because let's be honest, you can't be there for anyone if you're not there for yourself. How can I help you if I don't have anything myself? Chronic givers continue to run on fumes. They continue to be on E, and yet and still they continue to operate from the red, pulling their generosity from their want, from their need. They keep on borrowing from their want just to make sure other people have what they need. And then what ends up happening is that they have nothing left to give. They're depleted. They're empty. And then what ends up happening is that they're blamed for being empty. Isn't that ironic? You give everything for a person. You do everything to make sure that they have what they need. And in the end, they blame you when you have nothing left. And that's when you learn, keep your cup full. Because you will be blamed and shamed when you're on empty. It's your responsibility to keep your cup full. And I'm addressing all my chronic givers out there because I know that it's a struggle. Especially when you have been typecast in the role of chronic giver and you've gotten so used to that mentality and that mindset, you feel uncomfortable with letting yourself be loved. You feel uncomfortable with setting boundaries and saying no. You know, you feel guilty when you have to say no. You feel really guilty. You feel like, oh my goodness, how are they going to think and how are they going to this and how they forget what they think. Because here's the truth. When you are empty and you have nothing left to give, you will be blamed for that. You will be shamed and you will be abandoned. Right there. There's the truth. So it behooves you to always keep your cup full. Always keep your cup full. Because the thing about it is this: no one's going to save you. You have got to save yourself. Oftentimes, chronic givers have rescue fantasies. They believe that someone is coming to save them. They believe that they're a good person, so don't I deserve rescue? Here's the truth: you are your own rescue. You can save yourself. And how do you do that? You save yourself by erecting firm boundaries. You save yourself by giving yourself affirmation and validation. You don't allow other people to get into your head with their negative ideology about, oh, you being selfish, or you being this, or you being that. No, you're not being selfish. You are being self-protective. You are loving yourself, and you are in the service of yourself, so that way you can genuinely be in the service of another person. Generosity is beautiful when tempered with appropriate boundaries. It's a wonderful thing to be generous, definitely. But don't forget you along the way. Because that's what happens. Chronic givers will give and just forget about their own needs. They'll forget. I know so many nurses in the helping profession and in the hospitals, they will starve themselves. They will not take their lunch breaks. They will literally eat out of the pocket of their scrubs and deny themselves sustenance because they're so busy taking care of everyone else. Nurses have the poorest health in America. I gotta be honest. They are the ones who struggle with a lot of chronic conditions because they're so used to taking care of everyone else. You know, they don't take their own advice, like the very advice that they would give a patient. They don't take their own advice. They tell the patient to drink water and to eat regular meals and to take care of themselves and to exercise, but very rarely do they take their own advice. And so it's about, for one, setting that boundary, taking care of you, not pouring so much into everybody, learning how to say no. No is how you protect yourself. Every no that you tell them is a yes that you're giving to yourself. Remember that. Every no that you tell them is a yes you're giving to yourself. And I'm not advocating for you to just go out here and be like, no, 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 no. Which, truth be told, might happen in the beginning. Because what happens is that you move from one extreme to the next. The pendulum swings right back. So if you were the type of person that in the beginning you said yes to everything, right? Eventually that pendulum is going to swing back to no. And you're going to keep on telling people no, 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 just to regain that sense of self and to regain everything that you have lost saying yes to everyone. So of course in the beginning, you're gonna say no a lot. And that's just you trying to get that equilibrium. You trying to rebalance yourself. But it's okay to be generous. But you, as I mentioned before, you have to temper that with appropriate boundaries. You also have to do your assessment, because oftentimes as chronic givers, we continue to operate from this belief system. And so the first thing is that we have to challenge this belief system and disrupt it. All that messaging that we have to, for one, identify it and begin to disrupt it. You know, we have to also, in every encounter, we have to assess, am I giving too much? Why am I giving so much? What is the purpose? Because a lot of times we think we're being good by giving other people, but truth be told, it's an act of manipulation. We are trying to manipulate the love out of somebody. We are trying to just snatch the love out of them. So we think that our kindness and our generosity and our overgiving will get us that love. But no, it doesn't. What it gets us, truth be told, is exploited, forgotten, taken advantage of, and discarded. We get used, abused, and thrown away. That's the truth when you are an overgiver. When you are a chronic giver, you continue to invite other people taking advantage of you. You invite your own exploitation. You know, you become a target when you are a chronic giver. And so this is why you have to, for one, assess your motivation. Are you giving because you're trying to win affection, win friendship, win loyalty, win devotion? Are you giving because you want to avoid abandonment? Because a lot of chronic givers suffer from an abandonment wound. They're so afraid of being abandoned, so they feel as though they have to give to everyone else in order to keep them. But you don't. You don't, because eventually the truth is you can give, make it rain, make it rain, make it rain. But they leave anyway because they don't respect that. And a person knows when you're trying to buy their affections. And truth be told, that's an inauthentic connection. And so a lot of people feel tricked and lied to because they feel as though they're being manipulated. And no one likes to be manipulated. No one likes to feel as though they're being manipulated. So when you are a chronic giver, you make other people feel uncomfortable. You make them feel as though they owe you something. You make them feel this sense of obligation, and nobody likes that. No one wants to be around that. And so you have to be very, very careful when you do that. You have to assess your own motives. You have to also dial it back some. Dial it back, you know? And once again, for a lot of people, chronic giving is their default. It's where they feel most at home. They feel most at home doing this. And so they're going to have to learn how to dial it back. They're going to have to assess and be very intentional with every gift that they offer initially, just until it becomes second nature for them to take care of themselves, to set those boundaries. They're going to have to be like, wait, hold up. What is happening here? What wound am I operating from today that's causing me to want to overgive? What emotion is happening right now? What messaging am I starting to reenact and replay in my relationship with this person or with this agency or with this place? You know, you have to ask yourself these questions and then begin to take the necessary steps. For one, breathe. Take a breath and then assess and then take the necessary steps. Like, I'm not going to continue to pay for dinner. I'm not going to continue to show up for this person despite being given information that they don't respect it or deserve it. No, I'm not going to keep on giving till it hurts. No, I'm not going to put myself in dangerous situations just to make sure that another person is comfortable. No, I'm not going to continue to tolerate another person's disrespect and dysfunctional behavior, because that's another thing. Chronic givers, they have learned to adjust to other people's dysfunction. I'll give you a brief example. Growing up, I struggled to relate to men. They were always so touch and go for my sake. So there would be times when I would try to connect with them and I would try to, give them a pound and really just embrace them and give them that hug. And they would do this. Very touch and go. That was their greeting. And in my head, rather than say, forget you, joker, forget you, loser, I'm out. Instead of me saying that, I was like, oh, this must be something new. This is something cool. Let me adjust to this. No. As chronic givers, it's not advisable for us to adjust to another person's dysfunction. Our job is to challenge them and hold them accountable. Chronic givers, let's talk. Accountability. We have got to learn how to dignify people by holding them accountable. If we continue to enable a person's poor behavior, they're going to continue perpetuating abuse. If we just stand idly back and just be like, okay, no. We have to learn how to hold people accountable. Accountability is a beautiful thing. And I think that that's a tool that we can definitely put in our toolbox. Holding people accountable, letting them know how we feel, and challenging them and inviting them to do better. Now, will people take this invitation? Will they always accept the invitation? No. A lot of people will rebuff your efforts. A lot of people will reject your efforts. They will shame you, blame you, criticize you, get angry at you, get frustrated, be very defensive, all that, the whole nine. That's not your problem. You did your work, which was to bring it to their attention and to hold them accountable. It's up to them whether or not they want to accept the invitation. But do not continue to align yourself with people that do not want to respect your boundaries. Because now, as a recovering chronic giver, boundaries are my love language. And if you cannot respect my boundaries, then you cannot be in relationship with me. Period. That's not negotiable. My boundaries are already like etched in stone. That's my safety system. That's how I support myself. And so if you can't respect that, we cannot be. It's just that simple. We cannot be. So once again, you hold these people accountable, and they get the right. They have the right to choose. Will they respect your boundaries, or will they not respect your boundaries and thus forfeit the friendship or forfeit the relationship? If they want the relationship, they will respect your boundaries. They will honor your boundaries. Okay? If they don't want the relationship, if they're not ready for the relationship, if they want to continue to be angry, hostile, vent their rage, that's their right. But they're saying in effect that they don't want the relationship right now. They're not ready for it. And that's their right. But you also reserve the right to protect yourself and keep yourself safe. So all my chronic givers, I want to say this to you. I love you. I hope that you employ these principles into your daily life. You deserve love too. Learn how to let other people love you. You deserve all the love that you give to everyone else. You give it every single day. Why aren't you letting yourself be loved too? So once again, thank y'all for listening. I love y'all. Peace.